Hey everyone, it's time for Geocache Talk. Whether you're at work, in the car, wherever you are, we hope you enjoy the show. Please give it a like and subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, TuneIn Radio, or Google Play. You can get all the weekly Geocache Talk goodness. Big thanks to the Travel Bugs for the music and our patrons, Demon Hunter 2, Aggie Jedi Master, Electric Waterboy, Joshua the Geocaching Vlogger, Cashly, One Kind Word, Ravenclaw Tia, Shermanator 18, Butterfly Girl, Jane Jewel, the Aussie Geocacher, the Geo Gearheads, Sodak Zach, the Deadliest Cachers, Terrell 2, Neil Moore, Molly the Geocaching Dog, Team D&D, Geocaching Adam, Peachy 1276, the No Code Geocachers, PJ Hugs, Tick Magnet, Marsipanic, Bricker John, Fire Safe, Doc Firewoman, and our new patrons, FS Sabero, Geo Rick, Cash Addict Mel. I messed that up last week. It's not Cash Addict Me. It's Mel, Cash Addict Mel. Geocaching Janji, the Geocaching Junkie, Sir Drumalot, Janice, and Try Cassius. If you'd like to become a patron,
If you'd like to become a geocacher.
Listen to the show.
Head on over to patreon.com/geocache talk for more details. Patrons get path tags, coins, which we've been sending out. Coins, yes. Woohoo. And other geocaching swag during the year, as well as invites to special events, only for patrons. Support levels start at as little as $3 a month. Well, let me start the show off by welcoming the co-hosts, Sydney.
Hello, everybody.
And Jesse.
Good evening.
And we're going to jump right into show number 67 for September 17th. As we welcome Dan Hundycz to the show. Welcome to Geocache Talk, Dan.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
You bet. We're looking forward to talking about the game and everything. It's going to be a very interesting night. I've always wanted to talk about this because I've seen this, and I'm glad to have you on. We can talk about it. But first, a little news. The coins are still for sale. There I am showing the coin, and they're now $17 US and $23 international. And you can buy them if you go to the bottom of the geocachetalk.com page. You'll see a spot, and you can buy it either US or international. Just pick the right one, and you can do it that way. It says donate. It's just because the WordPress thing we use says donate. Don't worry about it. You're buying a coin, so don't worry about that. Yeah, it's not a trick. Just put in your info, and I will send them. I've sent out pretty much everyone. We got one new patron tonight, so I've got to send his coin to him. But I had to up the price just a little bit because I went this week to send them, and I didn't realize it's like, y'all raised the prices? It's like, yep, postal rate's gone up. I'm like, oh, great. So I had to bump the price up just a touch. So anyway, not bad. Another update from Keith Petrus. I don't know if you guys have been following what Keith has had to do recently. We talked some about it. After Hurricane Harvey, he found his boat. It was across the bay, still attached to the dock, which the dock now is across the bay too. But he's having, and then he sent a note. He goes, "Oh, I'll be back in my new slip here shortly. No big deal." And then he's had a lot of trouble getting his boat towed back to its spot. So, in case you're wondering, he lives on a boat, but the boat has it doesn't really have any. The motor's not really usable anymore, so it's kind of like a very large canoe, I guess you think about it. But he's
for anybody who doesn't know, Keith is FTF Magazine.
Yes, Keith.
So if anybody's new,
yeah, he is the owner and publisher of FTF Magazine, and so Keith is still, I think, in the process. Hopefully, he's got there. He was yesterday or the day before. He was nice. He was next to some really nice palm trees, but he's not back in his spot yet. Hopefully by this time, by the show, he's in his spot. So anyway, so we talked about before that recently we've been getting some great email, and we got an email from Finland. So I thought that was awesome. So I have been talking to the person who sent that email, and I want to package and not really discuss much about the letter, other than we're working on getting a person who lives in Finland who has agreed to come on the show and talk about geocaching in Finland, because there are some interesting rules that they can follow as far as, because in the U.S. there's different parts of the country have different rules. Like Jesse, what kind of rules do y'all have in Colorado as far as, can you put them on the side of any mountain, or do you have to worry about state and national parks? Or
Well, the national parks, that's the same rule as everywhere else, but it's really dependent. Some state parks have really jumped on board, and others are a little hesitant, depending on how the people treat the area. But most of our areas here, we don't have large swaths of area here that are off limits, outside of your normal places. But most state parks will allow it because there's been so many CEDOs with the groups up here. We're pretty good in most of our places.
Right. So, so that they go through some of the rules and some of the things that they're able to do, and so it's interesting. Different countries doing different, how they handle geocaching, and so I thought it'd be fascinating. And we try to do international shows periodically because I think it's. I've always had good feedback from people. I think it's fascinating to talk to people in Australia and Germany and Ireland, different places, and how they geocache. So we're working on the schedule for our friend who lives in Finland, lives west of Helsinki. And so stay tuned for announcement on when we're going to have that person on the show. And let's see, what other news do we have? I think that,
my favorite news item.
Your next news item is from Sydney. Sydney?
Are we going to do that one tonight? I thought we were going to push that one off till next week.
No.
Okay. All right.
It's, breaking news. Recently announced by Geocaching HQ that International Earth Cache Day has now become International Earth Cache Weekend. Woo. It's 2 days this year. So if you find an Earth Cache on October 7th or 8th, Saturday or Sunday, for all you Canadians who have Thanksgiving that day, you have an extra day. You get a special International Earth Cache Day souvenir.
That's pretty cool.
Are y'all going to find one on that day?
Probably.
How far do you have to travel?
Like 50 miles.
Yes, I was going to say, how far do you have to travel?
I have to go a long way. Dan, how far do you have to go for an Earth Cache?
Probably not too far, 20-some miles up to, I think Watkins Glen still has one in New York.
Okay. We got to go at least probably 45, but we'll try to work out. As we, how it is, we talked about before, every time I find a geocache or Earth Cache, I get further and further away from the next one. So
we'll have to plan some sort of trip for that weekend, Gary. So
there's still some over in the DFW area, so we'll be fine. So yeah, we'll go get one that weekend. So
20 miles for me as the crow flies, but that puts me up in the mountains, so makes it a little more difficult.
There's some tough Earth caches around you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not yours. You just drive up to it, but
mine are easy. All of mine are easy.
That's because Jesse has a geocaching helicopter, and he
does
drops on down.
Yeah.
You weren't supposed to know that. That's right.
Oh, sorry.
One day I hope to, but
yeah, he just flies around.
Pretty easy. There's only one of mine that's a hike, and we were just looking that up. It's only a couple miles, so it's not very hard.
It's not too bad. I guess where I go.
That's how it always starts out. Oh, that won't be too bad.
Right, it won't be too bad. It's just straight up the hill. No big deal.
Yeah, well, it is. That is true. It is. It's on top of a mountain, but that's okay.
That's where you get the. It's just 500 more feet that way.
That's right.
Straight up. Yeah.
It's just right there. I can tell on the map. No, but we'll probably get one. I've got set a new goal. I'm trying to get to 100 Earth caches, so
What?
that's gonna take me forever.
Oh my gosh.
Some serious travel. I signed a challenge, so I got to now.
Have you signed a 5-5 Earth Cache challenge yet?
I have. I have not done a 5-5 Earth cache, but I have a couple on the list.
Okay.
So
That's, I don't. How can you make a? Well, that's for another show. But how can you make an Earth cache a difficulty 5? I mean, you have to ask a lot of questions, or
it would be for another show, but I will say Grand Canyon.
Oh,
That's my hint on that one. So Grand
Okay.
Canyon.
All
That's
right.
what I'm going for.
I'll go look
Okay.
for that one because, or not look for it. I'll go look for the geocache page on it. Yeah, that's my extent of that one is just to go find the page. So
It's called, the title of the cache for that one is Rim to Rim. And
okay.
I'd love to get into that discussion
Yeah.
someday. That's not for tonight, but
no, not for tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about Cache Me If You Can, the game, and the card game. We'll get to that in a little bit. But Dan, let's start by talking a little bit about your geocaching. So how and when did you even find out about geocaching?
It was in December of 2007. I got a one of those Christmas card letters from a friend, and this is what our daughter's doing, and all the wife wrote the letter, and all it said was Charlie started geocaching, and then in parentheses, look it up, and that's all it said.
That's awesome.
And so I was like, "What's that?" And so I probably ended right up on geocaching.com and was like, "Oh, this is cool." And so I created an account and used my real name because I didn't know. And then after about 3 caches, figured that out and changed it. And it was really great because I started in January in upstate New York, and so it was some cold hikes, tell you that.
That's awesome. Though.
So did that for quite a while.
Cool.
so does anybody else want to admit that they used their real name when they started?
I did not.
No one wants to admit it.
I did it.
I understand.
I didn't know either.
Well,
I don't remember how I figured out that you were supposed to make like a code name. Like, I don't remember that. But that was always my name, is what it is.
Again, for another show, but I did some other dumb things to start to that would get us way off track. So we have a whole show for that one later. But
I think it was probably when I went to put the logs in online, and I started looking at everybody else's and said, I'm the only one with a real name here. So changed it then.
Craig, who's See My Shell, said he never used his real name. So,
But
way to
his
go,
is like
buddy.
a sounded out version of
it
his
is.
real name.
It is. C is his first initial. C Michelle. Yeah, it worked perfect.
nobody's admitting to it in the chat room either.
No, they're
So
not. They're not gonna,
just me and you. That's it.
That's
Well,
it. 6 million geocachers, and we're the only 2.
Yeah, nobody else ever did that, right?
Francis Sabero, he says he basically uses his real name, so FS Sabero. So it's okay, Francis. So we're good with that, buddy. You're all right. No wrong. There's no problem with that.
That's fine.
Tim does too. Tim.
Yeah. Okay, so we're not alone.
You're not alone.
Anyways,
Sorry.
tangent. So, if you could pick maybe 1 or 2, what would be your, I guess, favorite geocaching location you've gone to, or maybe a favorite cache experience you had?
Location. Well, I really prefer the caches that are right in front of you, that you're looking at them and you don't realize it's a cache and you want to smack yourself on the head afterwards. Those are my favorite. And so one that comes to mind was a guardrail cache, and it's a 2-parter. So we're looking up and down the guardrail, and it's there's a the car key magnet thing on the guardrail. Like, oh, this is going to be an easy one, and open it up, and there's a wooden block in it. It says close. So we close it up, put it back, and start looking around. can't find anything, thinking, well, maybe, oh, I didn't look on the other side of the block. Maybe there's coordinates on the other side of the block. So I go back and I take the wooden block out and look at it, and there's nothing there. So I put it back. We keep looking around, and I'm like, it's got to be in that key thing. And so open it up a third time and look, and the coordinates are written right on the lid. Never even looked at the lid of the thing. And so we made sure we wrote in our notes about, thanks, you really got us, even though that one's a simple one. But there's another one that's a cemetery cache. And so, we're looking along the fence, and there's a sign. Now, it was hidden by a guy named Golfer 89, and the reason his name is Golfer 89, he's never broke a 90 golfing, and so geocaching is the only time he's ever done that. Mm-hmm. So we're looking around, and we see a sign hanging on the fence that says Golfer fencing, no fence too high or too low. So really professionally printed, and we're like, we got to be in the right area. Eventually, we noticed a seam down the side of it, and it was 2 large magnets he had printed, stuck together, hanging on the fence, and the cache was in a plastic bag between it was in the sign. Yeah, so I love those kinds. Location, I don't know. It's kind of cool that there's these parks and places right around your neighborhood. You didn't even know they were there until you started caching. So I think that's kind of neat.
So it's close by. Do you get to travel much somewhere outside of your local neighborhood to cache any?
Well, since I started a game company, I'm gone every weekend. I'm booked. Like, I'm in Ohio right now. We're coming from Grand Rapids, Michigan, heading back to New York. So I'm in a exclusive hotel room here. So
yeah, you're in the posh. Apparently, the game's going well because you're in like a posh, like Hilton.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah. Hey, step on that cockroach, will you, Patrick? Anyway. So now, try to save money here and there. Yeah. But so oddly or sadly, I did get to go geocaching. I think it was 2 weeks ago, but it's really suffered because I'm on the road so much, and we started the game company, which began with the geocaching game, but now we have 4 games that are out there, and
very cool.
So we're at gaming conventions and geocaching events and all sorts of things. So,
well, this will be interesting because I know that both Sydney and I are big tabletop game people. I don't know, Jesse, do you play much tabletops?
Yeah.
I never realized.
Well, it depends on what style, right? We have a game closet full of board games.
Sure.
But different style, and whatever my girls are currently into is what we're playing. So
Right. No, very cool. Yeah, we and like I said, Sydney are very nerdy. We'll actually watch YouTube
Speak for yourself,
videos.
Gary.
Hey, I know you do this too, so don't deny it. Watch YouTube videos of other people playing games.
Yeah, that's big. That's actually big.
Geek and I watch Game Night. I love Game Night, which is Geek and Sundry, I think. But I watch them because they're more tutorial than like.
Well, tabletop would be entertaining.
Tabletops, because you've got the guy from
That's
Star
the one
Trek.
with Will Wheaton, right?
Yeah,
Will Wheaton.
I love that show.
Because Will Wheaton has on other guests like movie people.
Oh yeah,
will be on with him.
Felicia Day and all these other stars.
I should just tweet at Will Wheaton and be like, "You guys should try this geocache. Cache me if you can game."
That's right.
Have at it.
Wouldn't that be something?
He has geocached before, so I mean he has geocache, so that would be cool to add that to the get him doing that. That'd be perfect. But
when is he on the show? You haven't set that up yet, Gary? Yeah.
Oh no!
Come on, get him on.
I've tried.
Come on.
Hey,
I didn't see
30
seconds. I was just checking. Yeah.
I've told you. I've tried to contact Will Wheaton, Hugh Jackman. I've tried. Benedict Cumberbatch. I tried to have him on the show, so we're still working on those people. They're all in process.
Gary's gonna have restraining orders for all of Hollywood.
well, arguably, I'm the combination of all 3. No, okay.
Yeah, we had Dan on. Dan's awesome for this. No, so anyway, so we want to talk about. We're gonna start with the game, and we'll work our way from there. So let's start with the actual game.
Yeah,
Okay.
tell us a little bit about how you play and what you have to do.
All right. Well, first of all, it comes in an ammo can box because what else, right?
Ooh, that's perfect. That's perfect.
And some of this will be hard to show on this, but
Well, I
and
understand. We'll talk about it.
and then there's 3 game boards that are modules. So that's
Okay.
one of the woods boards. There's another woods board, and then there's a main town board that you'll go through to restock on equipment or replace your pen or GPS, and a hospital which might come in to
Jesse?
play.
There's a hospital there for you, buddy.
Been there.
Yeah.
That's cool.
On the board where the grids are, there's a bunch of tiles that, it's really a good thing I brought this in from the car. That would have been embarrassing.
That's okay.
So all the tiles that have there's the camera, like a wood back that matches kind of the board. And on the other side, there's speaking of hospitals, there's hazards. I don't know if you could see that, but that's the cliff.
Right.
There's basically there's a traditional cache, so all you need is your pen and GPS to get this. Now this one has a geocoin inside, and I'll get to that.
Okay.
And then there's the cute little ant carrying the nano cache.
That's awesome.
Yeah, love the ant. So each player will start out with 3 pieces of equipment, and when you draw the equipment card, you're actually going to choose which piece you want this to be based on how you have it facing so that it's readable to you. And
So like an example is there's a key is one of them.
so here's the flashlight, and the game itself is pretty straightforward because on the flashlight, I'm not sure if there's too much glare to read that, but it'll say you need this in order to take the night cache. And on the night cache, it'll say you need the flashlight.
Sure.
And then I'll just talk about the geocoins briefly. Mm-hmm. So when you encounter a cache that has a geocoin in it, you'll take one of 12 of these geocoins, and they're worth 1 point in their standard state. However, on the backs, secretly they have a goal that you can try to achieve, and if you achieve that goal, you'll get points that you can see.
Yeah, that's
this
the part. That's the party geocoin.
Yeah, you're gonna have to have certain pieces of equipment to achieve this, but as soon as you achieve it, you flip it over, and it becomes worth 3 points. And then there's also event cards, and there's some things I'm sure that have never happened to you while geocaching.
You're questioned by the police.
Finally,
Jesse?
I finally got to get one. Yeah.
Which is funny because Jesse's former police officer, so
That's right.
No,
he could stop himself and ask, "What are you doing out here?" I'm geocaching. Well,
yeah, he can ask himself, so that counts. So basically, I try not to make it too, what you call take that, because you're out geocaching together, but you're competing to be the first one to get to 15 points. There are a few things so when a cache is revealed, you can, if you have this event card, you can disable the cache a little bit before someone gets there to pick it up,
cool.
and that kind of thing. So essentially, it simulates the experience of geocaching because you're searching through, this woods, and when you hit terrain features, they'll actually stay on the board in the spot. So once it's revealed, the cliff will always be here, and so the further along you go in the game, the more you are aware of the map and what you might need to get through the pricker bushes or the hot sun and those kinds of things. So it's about a half-hour game with 2 players and maybe 45, 50 minutes with 3 and 4 players.
Oh, very cool. That's very interesting. I like the fact that it's not a set board, which those are the kind of games I always love, is the fact that the board it has some basic stuff on it, but the game's different every time, right? Because the cliffs are moving around, or the cliff's not on the same spot.
Right. It's actually different in 2 ways. One is the tiles themselves and how they get placed, and sometimes the woods is kind, and sometimes it's nasty, and most of the time it's in between. But also the way you, I'm probably not going to be able to do this, but the way you configure the map too. And so if you, this is going to be a juggling act, but
Okay.
you can
Oh, yeah.
set them up and make a deep woods.
Right.
This looks great, and so that changes how you play in your strategy, and also so there's 3 places where the woods can come off, and so if you don't use this one, then going to the hospital, the impact on the game changes based on where the boards are. So
the woods could be separated. So you could have the woods, the different wood parts of the boards can be in different locations. Whereas there's a chance though that you could have like woods and then another set of woods past them, which makes it like really difficult to go. Like that's your deep woods you're talking about, where you can go even further out.
Right, and so there's a couple tiles in there called snakes, and you're supposed to scream like a little girl, and you got to run back to the town board. And so when you have a deep woods and you get way out there, that's pretty bad. Just the snakes, but so that things change up each time you play because of a few of those things.
That's very cool.
Do you get points for screaming like a little girl when the snake comes out?
You should. You really should. No, you don't. But maybe the next edition.
That'd be pretty funny.
You have Jesse points.
Yeah, there you
Jesse
go.
Extra Jesse points.
Jesse bonus.
I'm not afraid to scream like a little girl. It happens, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Happens to all of us.
Yeah, so I would, in terms of ages, I'd safely say 8 years old and up, and the 8 and 14-year-old group really like the exploratory nature of going out on the board and just looking at the tiles. Now you can just randomly run out into the woods and start flipping tiles, but there's also map cards, and when you go through the store, you can look at a number of tiles ahead of time, 6 tiles typically, and so that works well for the kids. For me, I forget what the first tile is that I looked at by the time I get to the 5th tile, but
right.
At least you have some kind of indication of what you're going for, but it costs you time, and it's essentially a race to get to those points. Now there's also an advanced, it's not that advanced, but an advanced victory condition in which you go to 18 points and you need to end your turn at the geocaching mega event. But it changes the game in the sense that there's things that people can do to reduce your points on occasion. And so once I know the points are public knowledge, so I know you have 18, I know you're heading back to the geocaching event to win, and there's a couple of things maybe I can do to stop you. But for kids, the basic version, hitting 15 points first on their wins, works pretty well. And then there's some 8-year-olds that are just, smarter and better at gaming than I am. And so the age range thing is always kind of funny to put on a game. But
right. That's very cool, though.
So
we've heard good things. Yeah. Go ahead.
So that kind of covers how the game is played. But where did you come up with this idea and decide to actually make it a reality for a geocaching game?
So like I said, I started caching in 2007. I introduced a friend of mine to geocaching. I think it was 2012, and he went bananas. I mean, every day after work he was going somewhere. And when his birthday came around, his children wanted to do a geocaching themed birthday party. Well, it's January, upstate New York. I couldn't hide things in his backyard, or he'd just follow the tracks in the snow. So I said, well, I'll go online and buy a board game, because there's a board game about everything. And at that, there wasn't a board game about geocaching. And so I, took out the old cardstock and scissors and did some things, and we worked on it and played it at his birthday party. Now, he and I were the only 2 geocachers actually there, and but the rest of our friends were board gamers and played it, and were like, "You really should do something with this. This is pretty good." So he and I started going to some gaming conventions around New York State, and we ran into a guy who used to work for Mayfair Games, who really took us under his wing and helped us out a lot. It was a little bit more like Monopoly when we first had it, and got rid of the dice and got rid of all of that stuff. So there's no dice in this game. But there's still luck, certainly. We got to the good part of the game. You used to have to roll the dice and try to get coordinates, and sometimes you were just going around and around the board trying to land on the right spot. So that part got taken out. So you just get to the good parts.
So this is pretty different than the original game that you cut out of cardstock while you were creating it. Okay.
I think I still have that in a drawer somewhere. Actually, I should pull that out and look at that. Or
That could be worth something.
Yeah, you got to keep that.
Yeah, $1.50, $2. You never know.
No. We could auction that off really for some real. I mean,
yeah. No, I'm just kidding. I have a little bit of a sarcasm streak. So
no, you're good. You're good. We like that. But
you fit right in then. So
none of us are ever sarcastic.
So here's the hard-hitting and most important question that we could possibly ask, right?
Okay, I'm ready.
Is there any mention of, or are there any where-I-goes in this game?
There's no lamppost caches or those.
That's all the show we have for the night.
Jesse.
But at least there's no earth caches either, though, right?
So
I guess I can forgive you then.
There's 3 virtual caches, and essentially they kind of function like Earth caches.
I'm so hurt. I'm crying. You just can't see
right up your alley, girl.
For those that don't know, Jesse loves Where I Goes.
What? Maybe a smidge.
And hates Earth caches.
Oh, perfect. Well, I had you in mind when we did this.
He doesn't hate them, I should say.
No, well, I don't hate them, but
don't hate them.
No, I just but do you actually? So you said virtuals? There's some virtuals in the game.
Well, essentially, what they're there for is if they weren't in the game, you'd be better off getting what I would call offensive equipment. In other words, the flashlight and the things that allow you to take caches. The boots and the gloves and the things that protect you are nice because you don't lose time going to the hospital. But you still had kind of an edge if you ignored all those things and took the offensive things. So what the virtual caches require is a combination of jacket, boots. I think one's called a mountain cache. So it gets the defensive equipment so that you can get some points by having that. And that came out in the 3rd edition. The Where It Goes went in the 1st edition, and they were so unpopular.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Dan, you are so right.
I am crying inside.
I like this guy.
Who has the control of the board? Because if I suddenly disappear,
no, I have control. And you are just
okay.
fine.
I'm good. I'm good.
You can tell that I don't already. So, but hey, you know what? That's okay.
But Jesse, you might be able to reverse this. Take the Cash Me If You Can game and create a Where I Go out of the game.
Trivia questions about the game or something like that. That'd be very cool.
Well, because he's talking about how you need a flashlight and like you were saying, Dan, how you like a coat and you need to pick up you have to pick up different things. So that made me think about, and Jesse loves to, well, you have some, I think, Jesse, like that, where in your Where I Go, you have to pick up stuff and use the tools and stuff.
It'll probably be just as many people that go find them as the other ones. Nobody.
Oh well, still fun to make, right?
It was a little difficult to do in the scope of this game.
Yeah. So you said you're on the 3rd edition now.
Yeah, we've sold through enough to actually do 3 runs, and the box is improved each time, along with certain parts of the game and the components, but. So it's done well enough that we could do that.
So with the 4th edition, we'll be crossing our fingers for Where I Goes, and you could even incorporate some of the new rules. There's new rules for geocaching now, so you could,
and suddenly sales of Cash Me If You Can dropped off.
Oh, ouch!
Don't put them out of
beat up. No, but you could have a shovel because you can bury caches now. There's some other little rules like that. Yeah. Stay away from the train station, but
So we actually had, and I'm just thinking about it. Otherwise, I could always provide the links. But there's a couple of cachers that have the game and really enjoy it. And one guy came up with a whole rules set of how to play it as a cooperative game. And we've been talking, and I kind of want to hammer that out and put that up on our website for free. At the same time, another guy was working on a extreme geocaching version of this, and then we came.
Jesse?
We came.
I like
that
part.
Yeah, we came up with a way to do difficulty levels that I think makes the game more interesting. But it's so easy to do that I think it'd be so expensive to produce the tokens versus what you basically just would need these tokens that you might as well just cut out pieces of paper instead of buying the thing. And so we probably will give the rules away for that too. But there's different ways that you can play and add on to the game a little bit. There's also a zombie expansion pack. I don't know if you knew that.
Ooh.
And
really?
so the premise of that, and now it's kind of funny because I'm at gaming conventions and people ask and they give me a blank look. But when I'm at geocaching events, they all go, yeah, of course. So the premise is the zombie apocalypse has begun, but you have your priorities straight and you're going to geocache anyway.
Yes.
So why it's different than I think about every other zombie game is that the goal of the game actually doesn't change. You're trying to geocache and get the most points. You're just doing it during the zombie apocalypse.
That's awesome.
Now, the one minor problem is that if you get landed on by a zombie, you become one. But as a zombie, the will to geocache is still there, of course, and so you continue to geocache. Then the way you would win as a zombie is you get all the other humans to be zombies and be the best geocaching zombie in the end. So it's a pretty silly. Actually, the gameplay becomes more chess-like, but the imagery becomes pretty silly. So I've ended a game as a one-legged zombie on a bicycle and stuff like that. So because the original game was never built with the intent of the crazy expansion.
Wow.
That
is awesome.
awesome.
Are there muggles in the game?
Oops, I didn't mean to punch my microphone.
It's okay.
There may be a muggles thing.
Ooh,
So what they do basically, you have a little more control, but essentially a player would play this. They pick up 6 of the tiles on the board, shuffle them up, and put them back down face down. So you used to know where everything is, but now you don't.
Muggles. Oh, I hate them.
Oh, muggles.
The mugglers.
Still
mugglers. That's what they're called, mugglers.
Yeah, still know where I go stuff, though. I'm looking.
Okay.
You're just rubbing
There's
that in. That's
I know.
terrible.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I've ever been this abused on this show before. And
My
that's saying
guess.
a lot.
This is great. I love it.
But there are multi-caches.
Yes. There's actually 2 kinds of multi-caches. One is kind of, lack of a better term, free-for-all. So you can get stage 1, 2, and 3, and they don't have to be picked up in a particular order because it would just be too difficult in the scope of the game. But there is one set that is, I just call it a super multi-cache, which you do have to get in order. And that one is actually interesting because the other players inadvertently can help you. If you have stage 1 and they find 2 and 3, you go over and pick them up. So that's really nice. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else we got in there. Puzzle caches and mysteries and mysteries
awesome.
and night and water.
There's a store, right? The swag store you can buy.
There's a swag store where you replace your pen and GPS. You flip over the equipment card to the other side if you change your mind what you want. And then there's a sporting goods store which has you pick up equipment cards and event cards and can a map of the area and look at some of those tiles.
Very cool.
Sounds like fun.
I know.
Well, we certainly hope so. I made a really boring game, and
Yeah, we're just going to talk about it for a while.
Well, I like the fact that this is, like you said, version 3, and there's you've added so many cool things to it. I think some people don't realize how much you've worked on this game and that you've put a lot of effort into improving it. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it's it's evolved as we found a couple of things here and there. I'm not sure the experience is entirely different for version 1 to version 3, but there's just a few things here and there we cleaned up and added, and still know where I goes.
Just checking. Let me check again. No, still nowhere.
Nope, they're not there. I just looked.
For the people
the
just
card
listening
is
to the
missing.
show,
I can't seem
Yeah.
to find it for some
Yeah.
reason.
I know. For the
Oh.
people that are not watching the live show, I'm crying right now. So they're just listening later. You can't see me crying, but that's okay.
Oh boy. So what have people like in the community been saying?
So I actually there's reviews on Amazon.com and geocaching.com, and my computer's saying, "Do you want to install an update?" Like, no,
not now.
no.
Snooze.
But you know who would get blamed if I suddenly disappear? So. What was the question? Okay. That totally threw me off.
Fan reaction.
Yeah, so you can see some of the reviews that people have done there. And when we're at events, people will come up and just tell us how much they love it. I remember one woman, probably one of the first few people that came up to tell us of the game, so I really didn't know how it would be received. And her demeanor was like, "Are you the guys that designed this game?" And I thought, "Oh," because I bought it like a month ago, and I'm like, "Yeah, like what's wrong?" And she's like, "We absolutely love it. We just love it." And so I'm like, "Okay, whew." But the first time we went to Midwest Geobash, we were you're in that big airplane hangar thing, and a couple people came up early on and were like, "Why would I buy a game about a game?" And so you just politely say, well, if, maybe it's not your thing, and that's okay, because if I sell the game to 1% of the 6 million geocachers, I'd take that.
Oh, yeah.
So about 1:30 in the afternoon, I've seen rain before. This was not rain. This was sheets of Noah's Ark torrential downpour. So everybody at the event, basically the only place you could go was inside there, and they have a bunch of tables set up, and a couple of people bought the game and they started playing it, and then other people were watching them, and we couldn't, we were like using the credit card swiper going crazy. So
awesome.
we asked the people that run Midwest if they could do that every year, and they
have a torrential rain.
Yeah, they try, they do their best, but it hasn't always panned out that way. So anyway, it's once people see people playing it, or once they play it, the reaction's generally very positive.
That's awesome. So do you well, let's start with this. What events that are left this year do you have any events planned this year to show the game and sell the game?
New Jersey Metro
Okay.
is coming up
The end of October.
Thank you.
Near Halloween
Okay.
time.
There it is. Yep, the 28th. So
Very
I'll be at that one now. Space Coast sells it at some events they go to, and I don't know what they have coming up. And Cash Advance has it, and they'll sell it. And okay, my brain is failing right now.
That's
one of their hats, T-shirts. Oh my gosh,
Red Hat.
Yeah, Red Hat also has it. Sorry, guys.
We love all them.
Yeah, and I think Drives Cash Closet. And also, I think she's running Tampa Bay Geocaching Store if she's still going to some events.
Very cool.
I really hope I didn't forget anyone, because that's a bad thing.
Have you ever been to Moga?
Yeah, we went to the one in Athens, Ohio.
Right.
And I think that's the only one we've been to.
I'm just thinking that they have a lot of competitions there, and I could see some kind of board game tournament. They have all kinds of competitions. That'd be kind of neat.
Yeah. What Midwest does is they give us to take like 4 hours, and people just play the game. I think there's so much going on that you want to run around outside and do some geocaching too, and the hope is you do that, but this is for the rainy day or when it's really rainy, because I know there's enough hardcore geocachers that a rainy day isn't going to stop anybody. You know, but when it's just miserable out, or it's, you know, you just want to hang out at the house. So we've talked about tournaments, but I think at those kind of events, it's a little difficult just because there's so much going on, that it might be tough to get enough people involved, but certainly open to it. But
Would be neat.
yeah.
No, you know, very cool. And we, you know, like I'm sure you're starting to plan for next year. You got Geo Woodstock in Ohio this coming year, and
We plan on being at ASP in New York.
oh, there you go, Sydney, right up your way.
I go there.
Okay. We've been there. This is our 5th year. I think, or was our 5th year. I don't know. Somewhere around there. And then I think after that, it's what am I missing? Midwest. We'll do Geo Woodstock in Cincinnati this year is the plan. And then Berkshire we normally do.
Right.
I don't know that I'm. And then like I said, Woodstock wanders around. Depends if one comes close enough to us. Yeah. Because anything west of the Mississippi, Cash Advance kind of, you know, covers for us. Right. For the most part. Yeah,
Drives is down here next. I mean, he's right in my neck of the woods, so he cover a little bit of Texas, but and then Space Coast. Well, they travel a lot. Space Coast, we're gonna they come this way sometimes too, but but people can buy the game online, and we'll have the link in the show notes. But you have several places online.
It's at geocaching.com. It's on Amazon. It's on our website. Also, it's in Norway, Finland, UK, and Denmark. So,
very cool.
Geosport in Norway. I'm going to say it wrong in Finland there. You'll find out with your guest later. But Kivin Allah, I believe. And then in the UK is UK Geocachers. And in Denmark, oh my gosh, I don't know, GeoGreg, if that's how you say that. So those are folks that have carried the game.
Oh, very cool. So you're about to ramp, or about to produce, or about to allow for purchase. It's sort of in pre-production, I guess, at the moment. Or you can let us know what is going on with the card game. There you are. There it is.
Yeah. So
tell us about the card game.
So the board game is fun and enjoyable, but it's a little hard. It's got a bunch of pieces. So sometimes you want something just a little more portable. This is going to be almost impossible to show.
We'll talk about
with this face up. It does use a lot of the same features of. Well, actually, I can give an example this way.
Okay.
But of the artwork in the other games. So it is called Cash Me If You Can, the geocaching card game. Okay. What you do is it's a press your luck game. So the deck is there, you flip over the top card, and in this case it's a mystery cache. So I might as well keep going. If I hit 2 hazards, I think this deck is not shuffled. So
right.
It's not. So if I hit 2 hazards. So here's one, the swamp, and so now I have a.
That's not a hazard, right, Jesse? That's not a hazard.
That's a starting location.
Yeah, that's true. So I have a mystery cache and a swamp. I cannot collect the mystery cache unless I have a solve card in my possession. So I'll keep going along, and eventually, if I get a coordinates card, that's going to allow me to take all the other types of caches.
Oh, gotcha.
And so then if I have a traditional that comes up, I decide I'm going to end my turn. So what I have here is a mystery, a swamp, a coordinate, and a traditional cache. So I collect that, and it's worth 1 point. Now it passes to the next player's turn. The cards that are there, you have the option to leave and build off of that, or wipe them out and start over. And so it makes the decision of what you take more interesting because you're going to leave something for other players. So another player may wish to continue on because the coordinates are already there, which will help find other caches. Now, if an equipment card comes up, you must choose it when it comes up and end your turn. So again, that makes for some interesting choices because if I choose the key, I then have the key. You play through the deck 3 times, so I have the key for later on, and if the padlock cache comes up, I'm able to claim it, but only if I have the key and coordinates.
Oh, cool.
So the game ends the 3rd time through the deck. If I'm sure Jesse's had this happen. The 3rd time through the deck, if this guy comes up, that's when the game ends. And
we do have a few of those.
That was a bear, by the way, that he just showed.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, that's the audio. Yeah, and the bear is also an automatic bust. So even if you don't have another hazard in the first 2 times through the deck, there's that threat of him coming up and you'll bust and discard the entire hand. When we go into production, I don't know. I have a few of the pre-production ones available, and I'll have them with me at New Jersey Metro. We're giving. Oh, maybe I shouldn't be announcing that.
No. You go.
Okay.
Perfect timing. Perfect timing,
Okay.
Dan. Because I'm going to ask a question here about what you're about to talk about. So go right ahead.
We're giving. I want to make it suspenseful now. So, it's actually going to be a where it go. So
perfect.
No, it's not. So we're giving away one of the pre-production copies of the game. Sorry,
awesome.
I cannot help myself. To one of the listeners of the show here, and so you get to play with this. Essentially, there's going to be a couple of minor changes in the look of the final production. So, for example, in this one, it's a piece of equipment, but your battery's running low here, Patrick. Can you plug this in?
That's never a good sign.
No.
Flashlight.
What
right?
other things can I have happen with the computers tonight?
Yeah.
So
you had luck there. So
the final production will have like a little icon to indicate that it's a piece of equipment.
okay.
It's kind of some of that little stuff. Nothing major.
Right.
It's going to play the same.
Cool. And I'm going to ask the question, and then we're going to go over to
There's
Sydney.
the arm plugging in the computer.
There you go. That's fine.
That's
fine.
technical
Still
support.
here, which is the important part. Whoa.
That's right. The audio people have no idea that that's going on right now.
Okay. There's an arm coming across your
Right.
head.
Picture in your car an arm reaching across your car radio as you listen to the podcast. All right, chat room, stop chatting with each other for a moment and listen up, because they go off on tangents.
So
Which
this
is
is
fine.
a live question then we're doing.
This is a live question
Okay.
we're going to ask right now. Sorry. Next time, I think we're going to try to do one to include all listeners and watchers of the show. But for tonight, it's a live question only for the chat room. So chat room looks like they're all ready in anticipation of my question. My question is, you have to do a little research, do a little Googling.
Before the question, hold on, we're going to build some more suspense.
For the question, build some more suspense.
How accurate do they have to be?
They have to give me the exact answer to this question.
And are we going to give them parameters or just make them guess?
Oh, they can just guess.
Sweet.
So what parameters? What do you mean? Like they only get one guess, or?
No, I just meant a range or.
Oh no, you can no.
Okay, good. We just raised the difficulty on this one. Okay.
We just raised the difficulty.
There we go.
There's one correct answer, and if you keep answering over and over again, we'll probably we're not going to let you do that.
They're already guessing.
We'll give you like 3 answers. Yeah, the answer is, and yes, yes, Wet Coaster, you're right. 42 is the correct. No, it's not.
No.
It's not the correct
I can
answer.
tell you,
Answer
if you want to build
everything,
more-
right?
if you want a bit more suspense, I can actually tell you a little trivia about 42 that you might not know.
Oh, yeah.
all right.
But we
Or
do know.
I'll let you do this announcement. No, you don't. I bet
Oh,
you
no.
don't.
Oh,
Separate
okay.
No,
Separate
Breaking
from
news.
The
Breaking
normal,
news.
The normal 42.
because the answer to life, the universe, and everything isn't 42.
Oh.
He wanted it to be asterisk, but he was a computer programmer. And if you look in the ASCII 2 table on the keyboard, how you make an asterisk is Control 40 or Alt 42. And so they didn't want to put the asterisk in the book, so he did 42. So the actual life answer to life, the universe, and everything is asterisk.
There you go. See?
I did not
You
know
learn
that.
something. You learn something every day.
All you smarty pantses out there giving me the answer 42, you are wrong.
I sure hope it's true. No,
Yeah, really.
And he
He
just made that all
up
up right
off
on
the
the
top
spot.
of his head.
Yeah.
sounds good, right? Yeah.
Here's the question. In the board game, not the card game, but in the Cash Me If You Can board game, how many caching area tiles are there? So
Does
put your
Dan
answer-
even know this?
Well, I'm not going to say.
You're not going to say. So continue, Sydney, and I will keep an eye on the
Okay.
chat room to see if anybody ever gets this answer correct.
Okay. It might be a little
Are you going
loud.
to ask me to give the right answer? Because it's
No,
one of
no.
two. Okay, good. Because it's one
Someone
of two.
will get it eventually.
No.
It's one of
I'm
two
sure.
numbers, and I always get two of our games confused with the number of
No,
components.
I got it off your site, so I think.
Oh,
we're gonna-
wow.
Okay.
Oh, we got
You
it.
got
We
it.
got it.
People already. Oh my
Um,
goodness.
Craig Michelle barely beat out Chris because the answer is
92,
90,
96,
98.
98. Oh, jeez.
Ah,
I lose.
So
somebody
Craig?
must have this game.
Well, I do
Yeah,
right
really.
here.
But he's not going to sit there and count them all. 1, 2.
So I know what Kendall put in dots. I figured Kendall was he probably figured that was good enough, but yeah, 98 was the correct answer. Yes, Craig, you are the winner. So
He's celebrating in front of everybody else.
I'll get your information.
No one answered
16.
asterisk, huh?
Oh yeah,
No,
they did.
That was
Several
earlier.
people did.
So anyway, all right, I'll get Craig. I'll get your information over to Dan. So anyway, back to you, Sydney.
So I don't know. We kind of touched on this, but when do you think the card game will be available for people to purchase?
Well, I definitely have it planned to be available by ASP GeoBash. Hopefully sooner. We just have to make a decision whether to go to Kickstarter, mainly because it reaches a lot more people, and launch it that way, or just make it and start selling it. So one is obviously faster than the other. The problem with the Kickstarter is it takes about a month to set it up and then a month to run it. And then we can actually manufacture this pretty quickly because it's a manufacturer outside of Binghamton, New York, that's going to make it for us. So,
Okay.
if
You're gonna do a Kickstarter?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
but-
I was saying if you do, let us know because we'll definitely advertise your Kickstarter.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we'll put. it
Or
on
if
the
I start
website.
selling it, I'll let you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, and we want to. We'll put the links too for that. We want to help, but we love this, so we're going to definitely help you on. We'll put it on the website and different places. So
Yeah. Okay. Cool. It really the hesitation has nothing to do with this. Actually, it has more to do with another game that we have coming out, and we're waiting to hear. There may be a larger company purchasing the license for that, and then they would take that over. And I could just get royalties.
Yeah,
but
there you
it
go.
also would free me up then to. Whoops! I keep hitting the microphone. It would free me up then to spend some more time on this and get this out sooner. So it's really a matter of, do I bother sleeping or not?
sure.
It's
Yeah.
optional,
Yeah, flip a coin.
especially in this motel room.
Flip a coin. Yeah. Well, hopefully you get some sleep tonight, and hopefully the bathroom works and the shower and everything. So
I'm assuming there's running water here. I don't know. We'll find out.
there's a hose. There's a hose on the side. I don't know if you heard that, but they mentioned that. I looked it up online. The place you're staying, there's a hose out back. So
Oh, cool. All right. Well, it's kind of warm out, so good to know. Maybe there's a
All
hose
right.
out back we can use for a shower if you need it.
yeah, he's telling his family that right now. So, all right. Well, we're kind of getting to the end here. So I'll start with Jesse. Jesse, what are your final thoughts here as we start to wrap up tonight?
one thing to clarify. We were building up such tension. Did we ever mention what the prize was?
I think I did, right? Or is this the prize?
No.
Or you have a different prize?
No,
That's
that's
a surprise.
that's
I just
a
don't.
surprise.
I think some people were
Yeah.
confused.
Card
I
game.
think we all jumped right into the question. I don't know that we even ever actually announced what the prize was going to be.
I think
Everybody
I was
just jumped in
building
anyway.
I was building the appropriate amount of suspense. I never actually got to it, huh? So yeah, we have a few prototype copies of this. So I was talking about the difference between the final thing and the prototype. We're going to send the prototype copy.
Craig.
So it's like a very limited
Correct.
edition.
Yeah, that's like a
Well,
Uber.
We made 30 of them.
Oh, there you go.
Wow. That's
1 of 30, guys. That's pretty rare.
That's awesome. So, Craig, coming your way, buddy. All right, Jesse, back to you.
So even though there's not anywhere I goes in this game, I still am very interested in it, and I'm still going to get me a copy. And I'd like to see, because we play a lot of board games at my house, and I cash and do everything with my girls and stuff. So I have an age range from 10 and 17 for my girls. So they're cashers also and board game players. So this will be right up their alley, and I think we could sit around the table and play this quite a bit. So yeah, I'm excited to actually get there, play this, and get their true reactions, because kids are very honest. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
they're
we need to clarify too. I think, Dan, the number of players now in this version. What I know you probably have a recommended, but what's the least? Well, obviously 2 is probably the least. But can you play more than 4, or do you recommend 4 as a total?
I recommend 4. However, I ran into a guy 2 months ago. He plays with 5 all the time.
Okay.
And I'm not there's a danger in that you might not be able to get enough points to win, and so we don't want to err on that side. I also know there was a group, I can't remember what state but they got together with a friend that had another copy of the game, and they played with 8 players because they combined both of their games.
Ah, there you go.
And
there you go.
each turn is very quick. So I theorized that it would be fine because it's not a super thinky game where you're taking 30, 40, 50 seconds a turn. It's more like 10 to 30 tops. And so it moves fast enough that 8 players could be entertained with that. And then eventually we'll get those solo rules out there to do that.
Ooh.
But I like it best.
there you
I
go.
like it best with 3 and 4 players. There's a lot. But I always like higher player counts because I like the interaction and different things that people do.
I'm thinking this would work out great at some of our local events. Might have to get a couple copies of it or whatever, but just local events. We have people that meet regularly. We have weekly and monthly events. I could see this being popped out there because we're always there for a couple hours anyway. So
Yeah, when I started out, we went. Because now we have 4 games, so I'm split all over the place. And when I only had the geocaching game, I was going to events, and we were just game night events. So it was a geocaching game night event, so people could come by, just hang out, play the game, visit with each other, and watch us play. And those were fun. They weren't intended to be salesy at all. It was just I love to meet the people that geocachers are a kind group of people, other than the kind that like that one kind of cache I won't mention again.
How did you get that last barb in there? I see how it is.
Why am I done with that? I thought I had 2 more. They're really fun events.
All right, Sydney, what are your? Go ahead.
I agree with Jesse. I think this would be fun if you either have a group of geocaching friends that you kind of always hang out with. Maybe you could say, instead of going geocaching because it's raining today, come over and we'll do inside geocaching.
There you go.
I've also seen people around here go camping for their mega events. So people bring board games, and this is one of them that they bring, and they play at the picnic table at the campsite. So it sounds like a good time to me. I'll have to, sit down and actually play sometime.
Yeah, definitely. Very cool. Okay, Dan, you can give one more jab at Jesse, or you can just give a wrap up on the game and the card game too.
Or both.
Or both. Yeah.
It's really
or all.
so the Yeah, the geocaching game's available at our site, Amazon. Actually, if you just search Cache Me If You Can game, I'm sure it'll come up on Google. Give you a number of options. And the card game, hopefully you'll see that around soon.
Cool. Love to see it around Christmas.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Possibility. Okay. Well, that's all right.
If we make it ourselves.
Yeah.
If we make it ourselves, it'll be that way.
Okay. Well, very cool. Well, we really appreciate you coming on and talking about the game. I mean, it's fascinating, and I think this is something that hopefully everybody now sees is something to go out and get. I mean, that's really, I think you've really shown, at least to me, the excitement of this game now, I think is much greater to me to buy and to play now. So love games, and I've always wondered about this one. I'm so glad you came on to talk about it. So we really do appreciate you doing that. So
thanks for having me.
Oh, you bet. So coming up on the show next week, we've got Shanice Jordan will be on the show. She is Sierra in the movie Treasure, and we'll be giving away Treasure, the Blu-ray.
Very nice. Treasure,
the Blu-ray. We're giving away one of these next week with Shanice, and then just extreme preview. We're hoping to get on Matt Mercurio. We're working on it. We've had discussions. We're trying to find the right date, but we want to have Matt on. He was Ryan in the movie, so it'll be cool to make get all of our people on that were in the movie. So that'll be great. But next week, Sierra will be on the show with us. Week after that, we're going to do show 69, which is going to be sort of a combo talk probably between the new guidelines that came out recently and also the new virtual caches. And so we may have a special guest on for that day. We're still working on that. But if not, the three of us will hash out the discussion on that one. And then in 3 weeks, all right, get ready, all you Android people out there who always give us a hard time because we're big Cashly fans. We both use iOS. We're going to be Android for that night, and we're going to talk GC Droid in 3 weeks. So put that on your schedule, and we're going to be big Android fans for the night. Talk GC Droid.
What's an Android?
An Android, the droid, the droid phone.
Is that a robot that helps you go caching?
It does. Yeah, you guys.
It does, actually.
Put it on your helicopter.
Right, onto your geocopter.
That's right.
So we'll be talking to the owner of the GC Droid app. So that'll be fun talking about his app. So that'll be in 3 weeks. But anyway, well, folks, we hope you enjoyed the show tonight. Please email us your comments at geocachetalk@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at geocachetalk. I am at Gary Slinkert, all one word. Jesse is at Memphis_Mafia. Sydney is at ShermanatorGC. And Facebook at facebook.com/geocachetalk. Show can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Google Play, as well as the Geocache Talk website. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button below so that you can see and hear the show on a weekly basis. Until next week, don't just talk about geocaching. Play Cache Me If You Can and go geocaching. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Right.